Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So I had to re-record this entire video because my audio somehow came out like this. Okay, so a lot of you guys might be wondering about how should you use your options here, right? Okay, so I'm not super sure why my audio turned out like this, but I went ahead to summon for Tangxue not because I wanted to make more content, but because I hate myself. So yes, more R6 content for you guys, I guess. Now anyway, for this video, I'm going to show you an updated tier list, so to speak. Something that I have just been building behind the scenes, preparing for today, so that I know a lot of you guys have questions regarding like treasure echoes and how should you go about and using the treasure echoes based on the kind of espers that the kind of options that you already have right now. So I've actually come up with a tier list. As you can see over here, this is just an extension of the tier list that I already made like a couple of weeks ago at least. So all the espers that you have seen in that tier list will be the R2 espers in this tier list, but there are a couple of changes. Okay, so the two changes over here, one is Ethan. I'm actually going to raise him from S tier all the way to EX++. So I do feel like at R2, he is incredibly strong. Incredibly strong. You can use him in so many different content. You can use him in like event-based trials. You can use him in ritual miracles. Just for the extra crit rate and crit damage that he provides. And of course the speed as well. And the defense break, all that kind of stuff. But of course on top of that, in PvP, he just becomes a problem. Like, in order for you to counter an R2 Ethan team, you need to use an R2 Ethan, which is completely stupid, right? So the fact that he changes the landscape so much on his own, I feel like that gives him a lot of extra points, especially in PvP. But because like I said, in terms of just regular PvE content, he's still godlike. Now the next esper that I did raise up a little bit is going to be Genie from C tier to B tier for her R2 state. And here are some other things to take note of. Okay, so for Genie, Sally, and the Phantom Sisters, their minimum is at R1 because you can get them free at R0 doing whatever, right? So Sally can be obtained from the Spatial Tower clear. Jinyu Yao and Phantom Sisters can be obtained R0 essentially free via the Ritual Miracles. But of course, some of you sharper individuals will be able to realize that, hey, I can get R0 espers from the Wish Pool, which means that I can essentially get them R1 right now if I had 200 Wish Stones, right? A couple of things, okay? Number one, I completely forgot what espers are on the Wish Pool because my account has all the espers in the game. And number two, I feel like for most espers, their R0 and R1 is practically the same. There is very little difference or very little addition to their efficacy or their usefulness, right? Almost no changes, except for maybe Jinyu Yao who gains more AP, which I think is like the biggest R1 amongst everyone, I think. So yeah, that's it for Jinyu Yao, Sally, and Phantom Sisters. Next, Mateo at R2. This is just a special mention. Mateo at R2 makes him a lot better because he now more or less has a 100% crit chance all the time. But the reason why his R0 and R2 is in the same tier is because while he becomes a lot stronger, his usefulness is still pretty much in the same few areas. You're not going to unlock more doors by becoming R2. It's not quite the same as a Brewster, for example, who goes from, in my opinion, a C tier all the way up to an S tier, somewhere here, yep, over here. Or like Yuntran rising from B tier all the way to S tier. So there will be some espers who are going to be graded this way, like even though they did get a big improvement at their R2 status, their tier is still going to remain the same. Like for example, Tie. Now her R0 itself is already amazing, but her R2 makes her a lot stronger because now her first skill is able to push your entire team's AP, which makes her cycle not just herself, but also the rest of her allies, which is amazing. But there's no tier higher than EX++, so she's still going to exist over here. It's not as if there is going to be like a higher tier anyway. Now another very important thing to take note of is Yuhime is actually better at R0 than R2. And I know her R0 and R2 is still in C tier. That's because she's kind of mid. But just take note that her R0, in my opinion, is better than R2 because she takes away less of her buffs each turn that she takes by using her AoE attack, which means that she's able to lengthen buffs on herself more effectively at R0. Now, of course, finally, Zora is now added to the tier list. So I completely forgot about her because of her color scheme, right? So take a look at her. She just looks like an epic esper, or at least just the whole theme around her, right? Like, you can't even see the golden background behind, which is part of the reason why I completely just got blindsided by her, no pun intended. So yes, I'm gonna put her at B tier at R2, but her R0 is probably not really worth using at the trash tier. Okay, so I'm not going to hold out too much of your time here. This is just going to be a really quick one. What you can infer from this tier list here is my grading of each of these espers at R0 or maybe some of those espers at R1 and R2 as well, so that you can make the decision for yourself. Now, clearly every esper who is R2 is always going to be at least slightly better than their R0 form except for Yuhime. So you can definitely expect their esper is going to get better if you give them more resonances. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about why I rate some of these espers at certain tier at R0 and some of these espers at certain tier at R2. I'm not going to talk about it again. You can refer to my previous tier list, or maybe I'll put a link up at the top so it's easier for you to access it. But for the most part, I hope you guys have an idea of why some of these espers are rated this way between their R0 and R2. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me down in the comment section below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, even though this video was completely scuffed because I just lost my entire recording earlier, I still hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now that's it, this has been Derek Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.